Hey everybody, welcome back to The Pressing Matters. I'm Scott. Thank you for tuning in today and thank you for your support. Today I'm going to be doing another classical record review. It's been a while. I did a couple 3 months ago. It was for an overview of the Living Stereo series featuring 5 different titles. And I followed that up with a second overview of the Mercury Living Presence catalog, also featuring 5 different titles. So I'll leave links above and below so you can check those out. But I really wanted to focus on this one. I just got a new reissue of it from Analogue Productions, and I said, let me pull out all my copies and not really do a shootout, but kind of go through them with you and give you my impressions of the pluses and minuses of each copy. This recording was made in Orchestra Hall in 1958. The mono came out in 58. The stereo followed shortly thereafter. The stereo uses a 3-track recording technique. So when Living Stereo first started their series, it was done on 2 tracks, and the early 2-track recordings are very well regarded, but the engineers, Mohr and Layton, found that the center was not filling out as they would like, so they decided to invent this 3-mic technique where the middle mic would pick up the center image, and then they would later fold it all into the stereo image. This technique worked really well, and it's essential for a record like this, where full orchestration and spread is very, very important. The first record I have here is a Shaded Dog. This is not a 1S, but it is an early one, and you can still see the price tag on that. $5.98. A bargain at the time, and I think I got it for $1, so it's a bargain to me. The Shaded Dogs are well known and treasured for their particular sound signature. The recording was done on tube equipment. The mastering was done on tube equipment at this time. So the original Shaded Dogs present a very pretty, lush picture of the music. They're also tailored to the equipment of the day, so they have some minuses as well as far as dynamics and bass depth. I think, though, the trade-off is perfect in this case, because that tube sound just makes everything sound lush and beautiful and airy. The strings, the brass, the strings kind of float delicately on a bed of air. The brass is not as sharp as it is in real life in a concert hall. It's a little bit tamed, and I particularly like that about this particular Shaded Dog. The depth of bass and everything is adequate, but it had been surpassed in reissues that came after it. But this, if you have this original pressing or one of these original pressings, you have a beautiful, beautiful record that is just shows you everything that people love about the Living Stereo originals, and that is that tubey glow that bathes everything in the most attractive light. And it works really well for this record. I would never, ever let this go, no matter how good a reissue is. It's stunning. The second one I'm going to talk about, and I'm skipping one. I'll just show it briefly. It looks the same. This is the red RCA from the 70s. Less said about it, the better. This one is the Chesky. So Chesky was very fortunate to get a license for 8 titles, I think 8, from RCA Living Stereo. They unfortunately were not able to get the cover art licensed, so they had to go with this kind of generic looking cover. But they were all tube mastered, and it was the first time in a long time that these were reissued in this way. Even RCA's own reissues throughout the years were transistor. So this was a return to tubes, and it does retain some of the tube sound of the earlier Shaded Dogs. It also extends the bass and increases the dynamic range so that it gives you a more modern sounding approach, but still retains some of the glow. And it's a very attractive record. I think it's excellent. This is the 150 gram. There was a 180 gram that was pressed by RTI. I think these were pressed by Teldec, maybe? I'm not sure. But the noise level on the vinyl is a little too high for my taste, combined with what is the normal amount of tape hiss for a recording of this time. It comes off as a little too noisy, and you can't really get into the depth of the recording because the low-level detail is a little bit obscured. But it's still, it could be my pressing, but it's still an excellent rendition of this music, and one of the last that were done with tube equipment. The Bernie Grundman mastering for Classic Records was controversial. Actually, the rollout of that series was very exciting. I was there at the time. Never before had anyone had the rights to do the covers in almost exact replicas. And, you know, this artwork is iconic. It needs to be on these covers. But Bernie did a wonderful job. He did it with transistor equipment. It was kind of a revelation at the time how much he got out of this tape. I don't think anyone had heard before the dynamic swings and impact this record has. It does lose a little bit in the tube department, the tubey glow department, as Tom Port says, tubey glow. But it is kind of a good descriptor of that sound on the original Shaded Dogs. It does lose that, but it makes up for it in dynamic impact and incisive attack and deeper bass and an overall cleaner picture of the music. Some were criticizing at the time that the classic is too bright. This is really system dependent, and I think things are changing. The opinion is starting to change on the classics, and I'm so glad I never got rid of the classics, because more and more I'm finding, especially with my equipment now, which is tubes and a somewhat forgiving cartridge, the Audio-Technica AT33, that they can sound very, very nice, and I'm so glad I hung on to them. If you have the classic, you have a beautiful record. It's not going to have the tubey glow of the original, though, or the Chesky. It presents it in a much brighter, clearer light. So some may prefer that. Some may find it is a little too much on systems that tend to tip up in the upper mid-range and treble. But very nice pressing and very quiet too. This was pressed by RTI. The new one is by Ryan K. Smith. I'm a big fan of this Analogue Productions series, from the jackets to the pressings to the masterings. I feel that they have really captured the spirit of the early Shaded Dogs and combined it with an arresting, clear master tape sound. It combines everything, the strengths of all these earlier pressings, and brings it into one coherent, balanced package. Yes, you won't get the absolute finesse and glow of the first pressing, but you will get everything else in abundance, and balance and impact and drive. There's things on this that will make your hair stand on end. It's that good. There's a couple of, in Song of the Nightingale, which is mainly what I focused on, you can hear these incredible crescendos that just are so startling. And they are on the classic, they aren't so much on the others. It comes across with much more visceral impact on this particular pressing. But it's never too much. It's never pushed out or in your face, and you know I don't like that. I find this to be a nice balanced listen and probably the ideal choice for a reissue at 33 RPM. Chad himself said that he wouldn't attempt to do these if they couldn't be done better than the previous editions. And of the 8 or 9 titles I have so far, he's kept his word. I think for 33, this is the ticket. I'm going to discuss the 45 just briefly. I don't feel it's something that I can put into this discussion, even though it's not a shootout. But I got to say something about the 45. I collected all the classic 45s, and I have them and rarely pull them out because of their 45 nature. I don't like flipping classical music that much. But when I do pull one out, I'm like, oh, that's why I like these 45s. This one is one of 4 discs in the 45 set. This gives you the first half of Song of the Nightingale, so I kind of focused on that. And there really was no contest. The 45 brought out everything, and I mean everything, with a sense of ease and openness and relaxed way of presenting it. The shocking dynamic shifts in this record are in abundance here all throughout this piece. And I don't think I've heard it sound better. I think it may be the ultimate. If you can do 45, you will probably love it. Unfortunately, it's quite expensive on the used market, probably about $250. It would be wonderful. Chad has done a couple of 45s in this series, only 3, I believe. No, I think there's 4 actually. Pictures at an Exhibition, Scheherazade, Rhapsody, Stokowski Rhapsodies, and Pines of Rome. So why not do this one? I think this one would be a great one because this really is the ultimate sounding edition of this. I do think the Analogue Productions 33 is the best of the 33s and very, very close to this. If not, it's equal, but I give the edge to the 45 in this case. To me, it is the most visceral, enveloping, thrilling thing I've ever heard for Song of the Nightingale. Lieutenant Kije is no slouch either, but really the action is on the second side, and I don't think you'll find a better pressing of it. That's my thoughts on this Living Stereo title. Let me know what you think. I can highly recommend the AP though. In real world terms, for $40, it's not worth searching out the old ones. It's too expensive to go for this one. It is the ticket for the 33 and a beautiful, beautiful record. Ryan Smith did an excellent job and the pressing is immaculate. It's the quietest of all of them. So that is my take on LSC-2150. Let me know what you think. Until next time, I'm Scott for the Pressing Matters. Have a great day.